Yeah.
But I'll slate
Oh,
it
have we?
if we're ready.
Damn
Yeah.
it. Again. We're going to have to erase that herpes part.
I think I might do this whole episode in Christopher Walken's voice. So
Wow.
if
That's a
anybody
challenge.
has got an issue with the host, it's a good show.
It's talented.
It just goes to show.
And now she catches more fish than I do, so I'm grown to regret that.
That does say. I was like, man, I really hope I'm not overselling this. Oh well.
Probably, I was very, very fat. I mean, I was at least 5 pounds heavier then than I was now. And, they
You
say...
carried it all in your face. Whether we're elk hunting or mule deer hunting or whitetail hunting, I mean that's the epicenter, the climax of the year, the hunting season for us, the hunting year.
Yeah, prime
After
time.
that, yeah.
Can he say climax?
I did. I
that-
think
yeah,
I can
okay.
say that. Do we have to mute that?
Worse, there's nothing worse than breaking your boots back out again in the spring for shed hunting or whatever it is, and they just smell like the local bowling alleys. Rented them out for 3 months straight.
Yeah. And then I also learned over the course of the weekend that a thigh master can be an incredible upper body workout.
Yeah.
And that's what I learned.
All right, we're live.
Tick, tick, tick.
I'm all about that bass, No treble. Did you know my milkshake brings all the boys to the yard? Do-wah.
John, Aloysius Eastburn, everybody, coming to you.
Yes.
This is the Crave.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're joined here. We're in lovely Bend, Oregon this time.
According to the
On
map.
the road.
According to the
again?
maps, yeah, Google Earth and Google Maps seem to have some issues getting everybody here, but we got here.
Yeah,
We
they didn't account
we're
for
all
the
present.
snow drifts either.
Yeah, we're looking at a lot of snow. John,
I haven't seen this much snow on the ground in Central Oregon for years.
yeah,
Years.
yeah. So in the room, we're with the trio that is the Crave: John Eastburn, Nate Bailey,
Present.
Jake Siegel.
Greetings.
Joining us today is singer-songwriter Wil Askew.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, graphic
Mostly
artist.
backup.
He's worked with such hits, such performers as Beyonce,
Macy Gray.
Hmm.
And Neil
Gar-
Diamond.
Neil Diamond.
It's quite the eclectic resume.
God.
Also joining us is my brother, Heath Hilgenberg. He flew up from Southern California where it was about 75 degrees and flew into, I think it was 7. When
Yes, I haven't seen this much snow since the mid '80s in Miami, but that's a whole different story.
Thanks for joining us, Heath.
Yeah, yeah. So we're fresh off of a day of snowboarding. Well, a couple of us, Will and Nate
Yeah.
and I.
Snowboarding's really a loose term or description when it comes to me.
Snowfalling.
Yeah, more like snow angels with a
Yeah.
board strapped to my feet.
Yeah. To call us experts is a stretch by well, Will, you're good. You're pretty how often do you go?
I don't go like I used to, but I probably go 12 to 15 times a year,
So-
max now.
Awesome. And you live where are you at? Why don't you give yourself a formal introduction?
Oh, a formal
Yeah.
introduction.
What,
I'm in,
how do you like to be referred?
What?
How would you like to how would you like us to address you?
Sir Will.
Duke?
Duke, yeah. Duke. I don't know. If I've worked with such entertainers as Macy Gray, I just don't need that career change, though, because who knows where the hell she's at now.
That's a good point.
Oh,
She's off the grid.
Or he.
There's a lot of that going around.
That was
these
a
days.
gravelly voice. She did interesting. But no, you
No, she
you
was
do
a drag.
graphics?
I do graphics,
Graphics?
sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, so I'm in Vancouver, Washington now. I was in Oregon for a while, not from Oregon, but moved up there, and then met you three when we were all together at Bowtech.
Mhm.
So I came in. You three were all there already.
Yeah.
Nate was working on his professional snowboard career at the time,
Yes.
Still working on it.
so we didn't get to see him a lot.
No.
Mostly
no.
because he was digging out. But
man.
Yep. I was looking for those portable shovel sponsorships.
It was a good day, though. I mean, we had fresh snow and.
no, today was super
Killer
good.
pow.
Pow pow, nar.
The first
Yeah.
guy I went up on the lift with, and he's, like, obviously we make fun of that type of talk, and I'm like, hey man, how you doing? He's like, oh, pretty good, man. Up here from Santa Cruz, and just looking for some freshies out here. I'm like, what is that? It's just slashing the pow. We were going up the beginner hill.
Were you
Oh, that's
really?
right.
Yeah, he
That's
was
right.
talking like that, and he was just, so. But yeah, no, that's a thing, man. I would say we are in the epicenter here in Central Oregon.
Central Oregon. Yeah.
We're in the epicenter of what do they call them, hipsters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we saw a lot of beards and flannels and like saggy
man buns.
man buns.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
there was a lot of that out
You
there.
were definitely paying a lot more attention than I was.
Well,
If there's a man,
I get
bun
bored up
to
there
be,
on the hill.
seen.
You get
Count on
bored.
Jake. Count on Jake.
Well, you're more focused
Could spot him a mile away.
I just want to get down the hill in one piece.
Oh, it was fun. It was a good time. It was a lot of
was
fun.
No, it was really good. I mean, the conditions were super good,
Mhm.
and I mean, it's in this state alone. I mean, like where I live, I'm an hour from Timberline Lodge, and so we go to Timberline up on Mount Hood sometimes, but if it was like a day like today, we'd be at Mount Hood Meadows
Oh yeah.
all day long, and so minus the windstorm that you get here at Bachelor, that is quite often when you go up that Pine Martin lift, like where we got off Nate on the top, and
Towards the summit.
oh yeah,
It was whipping, man. It was a whiteout. You couldn't see
Jake's
anything.
like, feels like Everest up here. I was like, plant a flag. It's like we're trying to get over. It's crazy because
Yeah.
you're right on this peak, and
It just yeah.
it's brutal. So I mean, Helen Keller would make an excellent snowboarder at that.
She would have had no problem with
Oh
that.
yeah,
Didn't matter. So
you honestly cannot see your feet for about probably 100 yards.
yeah,
yeah.
Yep.
It's out there.
You almost went off the side of the.
I did.
The,
I didn't see
the
that
trail
drop-off.
there, and you'd have been hitting the advanced course. A few more feet, you'd have
Yeah.
been SOL.
And John, what did you do today? You didn't
I
hit
just-
the slap.
I
you
just
didn't want
woke
to
up
slash
actually about a half an hour ago. Yeah, it was a 38 hours of a sex-fueled booze cruise, and it takes it out of you. It really does take it out of you. I didn't hydrate. I blame myself. When you're on creatine, I guess you're supposed to do something like that. But
It's amazing all those guys fit on that ship too.
it really is. Well, it was on Crane, and you wouldn't think for being Crane Prairie, the first annual one on Crane Prairie was one of the local high lakes.
It was called the Brown Trout Brigade.
the
wasn't it?
brigade. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I was amazed with the turnout. I mean, I really was.
It was long, wasn't it?
I had not prepared. I'll just say that. But I pushed through, and now we're here. I don't know if we can use that, but
Probably not.
yeah, sorry.
Like most of our podcasts, we'll have to cut out most of your contributions.
I know. Nate will be back here.
Yeah.
Edit.
Yep.
They'll be cursing you all.
But no, you were you went for a drive there. You were gonna go look for some sheds, or
Yeah. Yep. My wife and I went down to the desert looking for deer. We try to get over there and do 1 or 2 deer counts a year. And man, I have not seen this much snow over there
Ever.
in a long time. The deer we did see, I mean, it was rough. I'm kind of worried actually. I might do some more research just about what kind of winter kill we might have. But they're pushing snow with their stomachs, and they didn't look like they were in the best of shape.
Yeah.
So.
that's rough on them, man. Especially with there was a bunch of ice out here too, because you can see on all the roofs where there's 6-8 inches of ice and then like
Yeah.
a foot and a half of snow. I mean, it's rough. It's tough on the animals.
And that's the lowest country around. So
to qualify, because
there's
people
no
think about
further
Oregon,
lower they can get.
they think about
Yeah.
black-tailed deer, but we're in the desert, so we're looking at mule deer.
Yes.
Yeah. said you saw
High
an elk?
desert though.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
we're
high
at
desert.
what? About
4,000 feet.
4,000
right here,
feet.
where we're
Right?
sitting, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, saw one elk. Was taking a nap on the side of the road, and no, it was good. I just I'm excited to see. I saw the new regs came out, Oregon regs. pretty solid. ODFW is issuing more mule deer tags than they ever have, so that's great.
Even though the declining numbers
Yeah.
probably says
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
might not be the right move.
It's a pretty good idea. I figure why not?
Yeah.
Well, it roped
Let's-
me into getting a tag last year.
let's make
a
a note of it.
non-resident tag
Yeah.
for $414.
Wow.
Yeah,
Nice work.
it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was
did-
fun
did-
to spend 5
Did you come
days.
down here and kill one of our mule deer?
No, I actually spent 5 days running around 3 different areas in eastern Oregon and saw a lot of road hunters. Saw a lot of
Sounds like you were on the road a lot.
just getting in and out of places, and that was the thing. It was just crazy that we'd find these big canyons, and we'd sit up there in glass for hours and hours and hours. You wouldn't see anything.
Really?
And so hit another spot, and then kind of hit the lottery with the buck I ended up killing. But I mean, it was hours and hours and days into. And before that, I'd seen 2 forked horns, and I just thought, you know what, I'm kind of, I like to hunt a lot, and I just thought, these regs and the different things, they charge you $25 if you don't turn in your tag.
Right.
And, this all goes to research. And I know as a non-resident now, being in Vancouver, Washington, when I was in Oregon and things were a lot more affordable, now I'm paying more out of state, and I'm paying more every year. So my price goes up every year. And I'm not seeing the numbers.
Yeah.
Like they're saying, oh, this is good. But, a tag in the synopsis to them is money in pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a huge revenue source.
Yep.
Huge
Absolutely.
revenue. So I'm just kind of, I think Jake and I were talking about a little bit today that, once I have enough points to draw a quality elk tag probably in 2018. I'm skipping it this year because I'm going to go hunt somewhere else. But once I draw that tag, then I'm definitely going to start looking Idaho, Montana,
Yep.
Wyoming, Colorado,
Yep.
different places.
Yeah.
It's worth the money.
Sure. Oregon's not friendly on the pocketbook to non-resident hunters, for sure.
No, it's definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and talking to, customers across, the country, really, but New Mexico, Arizona, your tag might take you 3 or 4 years to draw, but in some of their lesser, what they would consider their lesser desirable units, and the guy's like, yeah, but, you'll see, you got a really good chance of killing a 330 bull in there, not the the 400-inch bull that everybody is after.
Which
But
are
shoot.
there.
Yeah, but 320, 330 bulls? Yes, please.
Yeah, year before last, I was down in Unit
6
9,
point.
Arizona. And this buddy of mine drew that tag, and I went down with him to call. And we were there the whole season. We passed on at least 20 bulls that were 340 plus.
Really?
Because he was looking for a bull. He was looking for a great bull. His wife drew the tag a few years ago, shot a 383 bull with a broken sword.
Dang.
And so we were after something big. Our first night there, I called in a 350 bull to 23 yards, and he let it go. But it was insane, and it's the same thing. That's Unit 9, and that took him probably 16 years to draw. But I mean, it is like bulls like that caliber, 280, 290, 320.
Yeah.
People don't even flinch at.
Yeah.
We'd have bulls coming in, and we'd look at him, and he'd just stand up and put his arrow away and walk away. And then I got it, and as a guy that went there who was filming, and so we filmed everything, and to be able to see it and not have the pressure of, it was kind of nice.
Yeah.
To just be able to just take it all in.
Yeah.
So I've seen that. I went and I've hunted with him in Unit 10, Unit 9, and then I went with a buddy to Unit 17 in New Mexico, and that was insane too. So you just you kind of factor in all these things and realize there's a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
And you think that, oh, I don't want to spend that money, but you do spend the money in gas and stupid things that you do, scouting and different stuff, running back and forth throughout the year, and you could really just put that money into a good hunt.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's a topic we could probably talk about a lot, as far as out-of-state tags and going out western. And that's the thing. I mean, when you're you grew up in the East, I grew up in the Midwest, and that was always kind of the holy grail of hunting. You'd go out west. whether it be Colorado or New Mexico or Arizona and go hunting. But the amount of resources that are available now as far as information to find out where those units are, like, hey, you don't always have to, everybody knows about Unit 9, but there's a lot of really good areas out there to hunt. And you think about it. I mean, you're going to take a week off, right? 10 days off and go anywhere, most likely in the state that you live in. So, yeah, why not take a day of travel and drive or fly to one of these destinations and have an amazing experience. Maybe you don't do it every year, but, yeah, there's a lot out there.
Well, I think the way that I look at it personally is you have you can go on great experiences or you can just go hunt. And a lot of people just go hunt. That's what they do. They call their buddies. They're, this year we're going here. See you there.
Yep.
And they go do the same stuff over and over and over again. And probably the past 7-8 years, I've been a big fan of just opening up a map or talking to people and just going in blind. Just for the adventure of it. If you fall on your face, who cares?
Yeah.
Realistically, we can all afford steak. We really, we're not out there for subsistence or anything. We're out there for the adventure of it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. The bonus is, punching that tag, but we do it with a bow. Some places do it with a rifle, but you pick the hardest things to do it, and you condition yourself, and you do these things so you can have that experience, because you can always go hunt.
Yeah.
But you'll never have a great experience unless you put yourself in that situation.
Yeah. And we want to have all those good experiences, and a lot of that stuff, takes place on public lands. And without going too deep into it, we were talking a little bit about before we got on air here, but about Measure 621, Bill 621, and that got shot down. So that was what proposed. You guys have to help me out a little bit. 3.3 million acres of public land that was proposed to be for sale, right? Yeah.
Right.
And that got
across multiple western states.
right,
Including your home state here in Oregon.
Yep.
In Eastern Oregon, there's a big chunk there, too.
So all those great adventures that we all love to go on, I mean, all that always takes, for the most part, takes place on public land. And, so it's cool that that's not in jeopardy right now, but we got to keep up the good fight.
Yeah.
So,
But
definitely.
realistically, too, I mean, there's a lot of statistics out there that show that there was 3.4, my numbers might be off, but a few years ago, handful of years ago, it was 3.4 million, acres that were available for public land, and now it's down to like it's a fraction of that. And so there's a lot of these sales and stuff that go on around you that you just don't realize, that people just take for granted every day.
it's not the big lots because probably it doesn't get the publicity that some of these other.
Yeah, you get
You'll
those 400 acres
but
at a
it's
time.
getting
those
sold
just
all the
smaller
time.
tracts.
Yeah.
And especially out here in the West, I grew up in San Francisco Bay Area. I knew nothing about anything. I didn't start hunting until I was 24. And so until I was out of college. And so you come up here and it's just like, you look at this vast expanse and you think, oh, this is great. Look at all this land. But the reality of it is, if you were put the overlay on it, this is private, this is private, this is timberland, this is this is this. And you can't just march through it. And then as you grow older and you realize that each tree has a value.
Sure.
And so there's a lot of people now where, like, Weyerhaeuser came in, they locked all the gates, they're charging so much per person, per key to get in there, which I think is brilliant. And
Weyerhaeuser's a logging company.
big
Major timber
logging
company.
concession, and that's just
Right.
one of many. And so, people go in there and there's a lot of wildfires that cover this state. Like the area that I wanted to hunt this year, and I had went over there in June and scouted, caught on fire in August and burned 45,000 acres. So that's
doesn't take
timber
long.
land that's gone.
Yep.
And that was public land. But then, you have these other entities that own this timber, and then they start locking the gates. And then people are like, well, that's our right to go in there. It's like, no, it's really private land.
Yeah.
You have a privilege to go in there. You don't have a right. You have a privilege to go in there. And when the seasons are too dry and things are different, they're protecting their investment. And they don't see it that way. And once that starts burning, an investment's gone.
Yeah.
And so your ability to go hunt, chase a deer, or do whatever you want in there, they don't care because there's millions of dollars wrapped up into equity.
They gotta maintain.
They gotta look out for their business.
Business too,
That's
sure.
business.
Yeah.
You know,
So-
you know what else we have a right to and a privilege? A segment that's sweeping the nation. Would you rather?
Uh-huh.
That's right. So today we're talking. This Would You Rather was spawned directly from John's most recent fishing trip. I see the glassed over look because he doesn't realize what's coming, but shocking, right? Would you rather fill up your waders 5 minutes into your fishing trip,
Yes.
which you did,
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
or would you
Fill them
rather,
up with water by falling in the river.
or would you rather forget your polarized sunglasses on a fishing trip?
on a sunny day, like midsummer?
Going around?
Oh,
Or
yeah,
just-
John, why don't you
okay,
start since you
yeah,
filled your
yeah,
waders?
Without a doubt. Granted.
Now let's talk about this is the wader filling situation. That's a cold day.
Yeah.
You're cold.
Yes.
It's,
It's
water
winter.
temperatures hovering
Yes.
around.
And it was
46
really,
degrees.
it happens. Look, it happens. Even to the most,
Does that happen to you, Nate?
sturdy of
I just have
and
leaks in my
sure-footed
waders.
fishermen.
Yes.
Anyhow, I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. It's cold, icy, the kind of morning where you got to clean the ice off your guides like every 5 casts.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cold.
Yeah.
Some would say below 32 degrees.
I don't think it was though that day.
You're right, it wasn't. It was 38, so I'm not certain how that was possible. But steep bank, did have my polarized. Really glad I brought them. Had to get to a rock, wanted to fish as far out of the river. Glanced at the river bottom in front of me. For the majority of the part, it looked like it was 3 to 4 feet deep. I didn't do my due diligence, and I didn't check out the water right next to the bank. And I wish somebody would have been there to see it because it was pretty comical. I just took like a leap of faith, and in I went in like a 7-foot channel, water over my head. It's happened. Look,
Yes.
I'm not proud of it, but it happened. It was a cold day. That being said,
You kept fishing though.
That's how they make all those slam videos on YouTube.
polarized glasses every day.
So you'd rather fill up your waders?
Yeah, you need the roids.
The Polaroids.
Polaroids.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Will?
I've got a really simple answer for this.
Neither.
I don't fish because I believe that no man can serve 2 masters, so I just hunt.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
My fishing consists of reeling. So I get invited on boats,
Yeah.
and I sit there, and I wait for the pole to disappear and go down, and then I reel it in and hope I get it to the boat before the sea lion takes it. And that's it.
But you probably want sunglasses when you're doing that though.
Man, I have the best sunglasses,
Yeah.
and they're polarized. And if I had waders, they'd be dry, too.
That's a good deal.
What about you, Nate?
I gotta go with the optics too.
Yeah.
Gotta have the sunglasses. You wouldn't be able to tolerate fishing very long on a sunny day without some shades.
Man, I gotta go. No, I'd rather.
Granted, the
I'm not gonna fill up my waders. Man, that stinks when it's cold out. That could end your day.
either one is gonna
Doesn't
probably
though.
end your fishing trip.
You said you couldn't feel the
Your
pedals on
pedals
your
in your
on
car,
your
yeah.
car. on
Yeah,
the way
but
home.
that was at the end of the day. It didn't end my day when it happened.
How many toenails did you lose?
Well,
He didn't know
can't-
because
you
he
can't-
looked at his feet. He thought Beyonce
you
was
can't-
driving his car.
you can't count the ones that
Completely
I've already
black.
lost due
Yeah.
to fungus. But
All the skin's dead,
there's one or two.
flaking off.
All right, so Will, tell us a little bit about what you do for the hunting and fishing industry.
My the main thing I do is I have a company called Hunting Graphics, and I started this company 6 years ago, and I've been for a long time. People don't realize this because you really don't see what people do behind the scenes. People only know you because you hunt or you fish or whatever you do. They see your hobbies. They don't realize that you're what you do. But I've been a graphic designer since '94, and started in a newspaper industry. Ended up moving my way, up in that industry. Went to work for a outdoor retailer as their main guy. And so what kind of kicked all this off was as I was doing this, was I got introduced to like turkey hunting, and so which we went on a turkey hunt years ago before we went to Reading.
Yeah, on the way to
Nate and
the
Jake
Trail
and I
Classic
did.
down there. Yep.
And so, so I had kind of fell in love with this turkey hunting thing, and then so I started hunting with a couple guys, and then I started calling. Well, the obsession with the calling and the hunting and different things ended up landed me at the Grand Nationals in Columbus, Ohio, back in 2004.
For what?
For what?
Calling
Calling.
championship.
Okay,
Calling
call.
championships.
Okay.
50, who are the best 50 callers in the country.
Really? And you just picked it up? I mean, you had not been calling turkeys for...
I didn't even know a turkey could gobble.
Really?
Yeah, I went my first hunting trip with this guy. He's like, "Let's go turkey hunting." I just got out of college. I was like, "Okay, whatever,
Yeah.
I guess." And so, and then we're like out in the woods, and he's calling, he's making this noise, and I'm like, "What the hell is going on here?" And then this bird started gobbling back, and I was just like, "This is amazing."
Yeah.
You know, and then we didn't get any shots, but I could see the birds and how it interacted.
Yeah.
And I was hooked because it was like, this is legit. This is pretty cool.
Sure.
So I didn't kill anything that year. I remember watching videos, and there was like Primos was just coming out big then, and going to a couple seminars and watching these guys and learning how to call. And then my next year out, I killed 2 jakes, and I was hooked.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of, and so that was what propelled it. Was I was always a designer, and then I ended up at the Grand Nationals. And so as I ended up at the Grand Nationals, I had met a lot of people that owned outdoor businesses, and they're like, "Oh, you're the designer from here. We need help." And then I started designing stuff for them, and knowing the difference between a caribou and an elk. The difference between this, seriously, it happens all the time. People who are designers who just pick up a task, who don't understand anything that they're working on. And so I redo a lot of work for people. And so,
and on that subject, something we've talked about, outside of this conversation, but, and I'm sure you can attest to this, but seeing things when, like, as outdoorsmen, we notice things whether you're watching a movie or you see something in a magazine or in an advertisement where they'll put, obviously the marketing guy for that situation doesn't hunt or fish, so they'll put like, an elk or a caribou or a mule deer or blacktail in a situation where like in an environment that it's not supposed to be there.
My pet peeve is the flock of geese with the mallard drake
leading
eyeball.
Well, here's my and I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I catch these things, and like some of the elements that I use, now, in some of these things, there's sites where you can go and you can find somebody who's illustrated like a perfect deer skull, which is my nemesis of everybody calls, I'd really like a deer skull in my logo. That,
shit.
Amazingly, you're the first one who's ever called me with that idea. I don't know why other people haven't thought about this. You'll definitely capture the market.
Revolutionizing the industry. Okay?
Get ready for it.
Coincidentally enough, that was pretty much our request from you when we asked you to do our logo. So, like, do a deer skull with some hooks, fishing hooks.
Yeah, I think the answer was like, no. But, and so you pull this stuff up, and here's like a moose, and it says elk underneath it, or deer, or buck, or something, and it's totally, it's crazy. And so I know, I hunt, and I really like to hunt. And so honestly, I probably work 9 months out of the year so I can hunt and travel the other 3. And so, but there's things, like you said, that you catch on. So like last week we went and watched that movie Split with the kid who has the 23 different multiple personalities who kidnaps the girls. There's a scene in there.
Funny.
Which is, well, and this is coming back to this industry, you're really kind of ostracized for being an outdoorsman. And in this theater, and I'm just sitting there and I'm watching this, and my blood's kind of boiling over this because there's things that people like, you're just watching the screen. But I know advertising, and I know subliminal advertising, I know how this stuff works. And so they're being fed things, different points. And so it comes out where this girl is a young girl, and these guys are hunting, and it's her dad and her uncle, and they're hunting. They're hunting for deer with a sawed-off shotgun, pistol grip, no sights, and birdshot. And they're laying in a tent, and they're waiting for the deer to run by them. And then the guy shoots this buck, a white-tailed buck, at about 150 yards with birdshot. And then they go down there and stand over it. And then to top it off, every time they get around and they're talking about hunting, they're always cracking beers.
Right.
So they're always cracking beers.
Feed the stereotype.
And then on top of that, the uncle is a child molester.
Oh, that's great.
And it's just like, I mean, there's so many things that just come out that it's like people don't realize this, but I'm just looking at this as, man, it is just one thing that they just pound it and pound it and pound it as to
annoying.
But it's the wrong impression.
Sure.
And I leaned over to my girlfriend and I was like, everything they're doing is completely illegal. This is not the way it is. But nobody catches these things. And you see it all the time, like you're talking about the geese or different things or stuff, or it's not even a reality.
80% of the people in this country, well, probably more than that, don't hunt or fish. They don't know any better.
No, they don't know. And so they're just, their impression is what's in front of them.
Right. And that's a big hurdle for us, as outdoorsmen and conservationists to get over is that stereotype, because it gets fed from all different angles. And you're right, though. You notice that. You pick it up. And like you said, you leaned over and told your girlfriend, and we told our wives, it's like you see something in a magazine or you're like, that's not right. That's inaccurate.
Yeah. And that's, but that's the thing where it's kind of glamorous now to be outdoorsy, and it's cliche and it's fashionable, whatever you want to do with that. But it's, and the reality of it, it's, there's a lot of guys like yourselves and myself who, you have this passion for the outdoors, but nobody really stands up for it. And so there's a lot of misinformation that gets out there. And so with my artwork and stuff, it really ties back into having the best representative of what's out there. This is exactly what it is. And so I said before, I redo a lot of work for people because they get it and they're like, well, we hired this place and this isn't what we want at all. This isn't anything that we explain to them. And it's like, well, yeah, because they don't care.
Yeah.
So you're a fixer.
Well, they don't know anything about it.
I'm the fixer.
You're the fixer.
Yeah.
So you were an artist before you were a hunter.
Yes.
That was the genesis.
Yeah, I think I had bow hunted a couple times. It's not even hunting. I don't even know why you would say it's bow hunting. It's bow hiking.
Yeah.
You have a clue what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you're just out there doing whatever because it's just kind of fun and different.
Yeah.
But I always had like an idea for the outdoors. I always had a fascination with it. And then as you get older and there's just things that like you online, which I try not to read very much of this stuff, and I really don't follow very many people on Facebook or anything, and you see these things, but you read some of these things where it's like, younger generations are like, oh, well, you must be this age, and you must be this, and you don't get this, and you don't get that, and it's like, okay, you read these things, and then as you get older, you realize, okay, this guy's worked this job this long. He has this much vacation pay. He makes this much money. He can make these decisions. And so you're here combating with this guy because he doesn't meet up with your 26-year-old morals when this guy has 8 weeks of vacation, makes 6 figures a year, and can go hunt anywhere in the world.
Yeah,
but you're going to
come
down on him because he's put in his dues because you disagree with how you would have spent your 4 days hunting.
Sure.
But it's the reality is you work hard so you can do this stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the key of it. So that's in the graphics end of things. I do 90% of the stuff that I do is outdoor related.
That's
Fishing,
awesome.
hunting, camping.
Do you remember?
2 passions in one. Then.
Do you remember the first job you got paid for?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first job I got paid for, I designed wrapping paper for Harry and David.
Really?
Or you mean for as a freelancer, not as a artist. The first paid job as an artist, as a like a on the clock artist was at the newspaper. I got hired to come in as a production artist and work in their graphics department for the Medford Mail Tribune. The first freelance job that I had, which was like a year later, was I was commissioned by Harry and David to design wrapping paper. And I went to school to be an illustrator, so I could draw, and I can paint, and I can do all these things. I just don't do them anymore. And so
Digital now.
it's all digital now. But so I designed this wrapping paper, and they turned it into like full-blown
Really?
wrapping paper. They paid me $200, and we just had my daughter, and I took that money and I bought a vacuum cleaner.
Nice.
And that was my first freelance gig. Interesting.
Yeah.
So what was your
That's
first
cool.
outdoor gig?
First outdoor gig. I'm trying to think.
So while you're thinking about that, think about something else. Now you're talking about, you're an artist. Obviously you're an illustrator. Something I was thinking about, because, so what was, I think you're a great person to ask about this, obviously, because you can do it both, but you came into hunting a little bit later. What do you think is harder to master? And some of this might be, it's God-given. Some people are good artists. They just are. But was hunting harder to master than being an illustrator or, a graphic artist?
Yeah, because an ability to do things is a talent. Nobody is born with the talent to hunt or to fish. You put in time and you invest time, and you increase your gear, and you learn better technologies, and you have to apply yourself to be successful. You have to apply yourself to be successful in anything. But there was a point when I was a child where I saw something and then I just started drawing. It wasn't like I saw a deer and decided, what the hell?
Yeah. Yeah. If I see it, it's dead.
You
There's
shall
nothing to it.
die.
Yeah.
How hard could this be?
Right.
Gosh.
Which
we
a lot of people have that mentality, but it's, and so it's kind of crazy. But I think, going back to what, like my first thing as an outdoor artist, because I did a ton of artwork through my career as an artist. But the one thing that I can remember, probably the first thing that really got me going towards the hunting graphics end of things, was when Cameron Haynes was coming out and he was going to start doing his own thing. And he had just written the Blacktail book, Hunting Trophy Blacktail or whatever it is. I don't have a clue. I know what it looks like. So he was really good friends with a friend of mine, and me and that buddy would hunt together a lot, and I designed Cameron's banners and all of his stuff and everything, tailgate wrap and all this stuff. And that was what kind of was like, we could do this.
Right.
Because we're looking at a lot of stuff that's not good. And have the talent to do it, so maybe we should do it. That's probably one of the first things I remember, but that was back in like 2002, 2003.
Back there a ways then.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. But I was
cool.
always a corporate artist before that. But I never really thought of the outdoor industry as being, viable source of income.
Too many people do, I think, and they probably come to a pretty rude awakening, when they're venturing down that road. So.
Well, it's like anything. You have to be good at what you're at.
Yeah.
A lot of people have tools.
Yeah.
I own a hammer. You don't want me building you a house. I've seen Nate work on a door. I wouldn't let him work on my door. But I mean, it's the same thing. It's like people have, skills, and people have talents, and some people are really good and some people are okay. And in this industry, there's a lot of people that are okay, and they really push themselves as being fantastic. And they're kind of one-trick ponies. And so realistically for me, when I design something, I close that page and I don't look back at it. I don't follow people that do stuff in this industry because I don't want anything to be repetitive. So I look at, like, my influences are snowboarding, Trans World, stuff like that, X Games, kind of the fitness communities,
Mm.
different things where I'm looking at mountain biking. I love to mountain bike, downhill mountain bike, nothing that involves pedaling uphill. And, you know,
Coasting
fast coasting,
Yeah.
rapidly.
sometimes fast crashing. And, but I look at those because I don't want to walk into a place where I see something, and I mean, you'll always see something that gives you an influence, but I don't want for somebody to say, "Oh, you took that from me." Sure. And so that's where I really don't look at anything that's going on. When we did Extreme Elk a few years ago with Corey Jacobson, him and I had that magazine, and I purposely went to a store and sat down, and I think for 5 hours I dug through magazines, and I didn't look at anything hunting related. So I built that magazine off of RC Gamer or something, PC Gamer, an RC, like a remote control car deal, and a travel magazine and something else. But I didn't look at anything hunting related because I didn't want magazines that are already on the shelf coming back saying, "Oh, you looked at our stuff." And then as we went through, like in our third year, I could look at hunting magazines and I could see that they were following the influence that we were kicking out a lot.
Yeah. Well, and that's the problem. We talk a lot about how small the industry is, unfortunately, a lot of these industries, manufacturers, they don't look outside into other industries for influence. They look within, like, oh, we like what they're doing, so let's do some of that.
Right.
Well, then you get just this repetitive look and feel.
And that's the market.
Yeah.
That's the umbrella of that market. And it's like a deer skull and everything. And it works for some. It worked for some things, like for like the Bone Collector. It was brilliant.
Oh yeah, that was a huge.
It was a
everybody
huge
knows
thing.
that logo. Everybody
knows that logo.
But it's been done to death now.
You can find it online in stock art. Yeah. So I mean, there's different things, but I think with everything that I do, I really do. I can, and I think that's one of the reasons why people look towards me is because I have the ability to always make something look different. And so when I close it, I had somebody call me the other day, or even tonight we were in town here in Bend, and we went into this place called Atlas Cider. And so Todd, who was on the lift with us today, he was looking up and he goes, "Oh, remember that board?" And there was this big board across the top of these beams, and it had these words on it. And he goes, "Remember that?" And I go, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "You did that artwork." I go, "I didn't do that artwork." And he goes, "Yeah. You remember you did this? I sent you all the fonts and you did it and you redrew it and you did this and this. And then I put on a projector and I did this." And I said, "I don't remember anything." Because I just finished the project, closed the page, and go to the next
on to
one.
the next thing.
That brings us up to your heavy drinking. You don't seem to remember much, apparently. So. But no, talking about the industry and how it's changed, and we, John and I, and Nate, and we've all been to the trade shows, and we've seen how over the last 20 years that the hunting and fishing industry, but mainly hunting, I mean, we deal a little bit more in the hunting industry than fishing, and I want to get your take on fishing too, but how it has changed. It's been extremely commercialized. We see popular celebrities like Eva Shockey. She's on national news talking about hunting and defending what she does. We see shows like Meat Eater that's on Netflix. That's a hunting show on Netflix. I mean, we've taken, we've definitely gone to a different place. Good or bad, but how has that changed your business and how people approach you and say, "Hey, we want this certain look," or, even more than that, are they concerned about the perception of, we're a hunting we're a hunting business, we're a hunting manufacturer, we produce this, and it used to be, it seems like, hey, we don't care, like, this is what we do. Now it seems to be like we don't want to offend somebody. Do you see that more often now, like when people are asking you for something, that there's a lot more guidelines to it?
Not really.
No, it's still
because I did some work behind the scenes for a few agencies. So I designed stuff for Bushnell, Nikon, Canon Safes, Heavy Shot, a lot of these places behind the scenes. And So those places, I think they pay attention to it more, because they're at an escalated level. But realistically, and I think you guys know this being in this industry too, that there's more mom and pop shops than there are actual corporations that work in this industry. And the corporations are ran by corporate people. So the corporate people will work with advertising agencies and they will pay the money to have something done right. Whereas the mom and pop shops have spent all their money creating that one product and they know nothing about advertising. They know nothing about marketing. They know nothing at all. And in their mind, it's like, you know what? I voted for Trump. Everybody else can kiss my ass. So this is what I want. And it's like, yeah, okay, fine. I'll make that. I don't care. Pay your bills.
Yeah.
And so, realistically, that's what it comes down to, is where you really don't see that other end of it. And when you do deal with the corporate end of stuff, then you realize, in my mind, that there's such a disconnect between the product and the people that are pushing the product. Your marketing directors do not use the product. They don't understand the product. They don't know anything that's going out there. You talk with the guys that are paying the bills. And I've worked in the corporate industry for years, and you realize there's a guy who's only concerned about a decimal point, and he's not concerned, like with the mom and pops person that wants to make sure that when you buy this, I want to make sure you're happy. And if you're not happy, I'm going to do everything I can. Where it's all about decimal points over here. So there's such a crazy difference to it. Yeah, or a decibel.
Yeah. Decibel.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So, given the choice, you have a magic wand, and you can wave that magic wand. Knowing what you know and doing what you do, what would be the ultimate promotion that you would create today to usher forward what it is you feel that's most important?
I think, I'm talking about like the hunting industry or anything in particular. So there's, if I could wave a magic wand right now in this second, it would have nothing to do with anything that we're talking about right now. Okay. It would have everything to do about common sense.
Tell me more.
Common sense about people understanding better politics, understanding what's going on outside their door, not being so liberal about things, and absolutely understanding before they jump on these bandwagons, because we have people in our lives at home that will sit there and fight with you tooth and nail, and they have zero factual content, and it's annoying. And so realistically, if I could wave a wand over anything, it would be over the media. True story. And it would be over the media, and we get rid of everybody that's in there now, and you would have people who actually broadcast the news, and they don't come out and they don't try and sell drama as a day-to-day life, and they sell the news, and people go back to being ratings. Who they are, and it's all about ratings. And they go back to being who they were, and they're respectful, and they know how to talk to people and not be a dick, and they're respectful to their elders, and they help people out, and they pick up trash, and they do things, stuff you just don't see. That is exactly the wand that I would swing today. It would have nothing to do. If that happened, I'd be super happy.
Change the world, right?
Yeah. And no one would know. And I'd just be sitting at home with this freaking wand. And then my next stroke would be I'd win the lottery.
There you go.
Well, the first was less self-serving.
So self-serving. But now that that's fixed.
Now that we got the world fixed, I'm taking care of me.
I'm taking it. And I'm going to build the biggest shot and I'm going to Crane Prairie.
Oh, man.
Awesome. You'll be hunting year
round. But that is exactly how it would be. It is so... I started my art career in a news organization. And when I worked at the newspaper... so I didn't know a lot about pre-press, and I had to learn about pre-press. So I worked as an artist during the day, and at night I would go back and I would work as pre-press. And so now everything's automated, paginated, and back then it was cut and paste. So you would cut it, run it out on film, run it through a waxer, you'd put it up on boards that were as big as the paper, and you'd roll it down. And so as you're putting this paper together, and then they would go and they'd shoot film of it, and then that would make the paper. As you're putting this together, you're reading these stories, and then we had printers that would kick out stories from Associated Press. When I left that newspaper, I worked there for 5 years. When I left that newspaper, I didn't watch the news or read the news for probably 7 years because of all the things that I saw and all the things that we would not print.
Really?
And you realized what a jacked up world
we
lived in.
Yeah.
This was news.
Yeah.
So they, they.
When you
take
look
this,
at it
this,
today,
this.
look at it today. Then.
Oh, I know. This was in the 90s.
Yeah.
And at
today,
the day, I mean, I couldn't read the newspaper. I still have a hard time reading the newspaper because I just, when you walk around and you see things and
You have fake news today. Acknowledged fake news, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you have.
Social media and it's full of it.
well, it's not that. It's people have an agenda,
Right.
and the only way to push this agenda is to get it in people's faces, and that comes on at 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock, and
Well,
then it's here and here
news
and
is
here.
less than it was back then. I mean, news was news back then.
News
right?
was news.
It was fact checked,
Yeah.
right? You had at least 2 sources, all that. Today,
It's run with it.
you just go.
Well, here's the thing, and you
It's about
realize
viewers.
this.
Yeah,
if I get
clicks.
followers,
Clicks.
viewers,
Right.
Here's the thing too.
retweeters,
Back
all
then, like when I started my career in the newspaper industry, it was an interview. So me and Nate,
Yeah.
I'm the reporter, and I'd go up to Nate and I'd say, I heard you can't fix a door that's creaking. And we would have, yeah, and so we would have this conversation. And now anything you turn on and watch, it's, this person tweeted this and this person tweeted. There's no fact check. They run with it as gospel.
You can't get to
There's
the
no
source.
one-on-one.
You can't get to the bottom. of the
And
source.
it's like, well, you know what? We disproved that.
Yeah.
There's none of that. It's, we read this here. So there you have a room full of people that are looking for garbage. There's nobody who, the reporter that's out there, taking shorthand and learning these things and learning the facts and writing that story that may be hard to write, but at the end it has a good ending.
Yeah.
Right now it's, you know what? Let's bury it.
Yeah.
And let's do this and let's do this. And, you said this.
It's very Nate.
There's never any
Yeah.
retractions.
We're
written
going to
anymore
get
either.
somebody who can fix a door. But it's
I'll pitch in.
it's a weird world.
Yeah. Well, and then you look at subjects that we're talking about, in the life that we live in the hunting and fishing industry, which is already under a very skewed observation, and it's pitched by, and again, like you said, everybody has an agenda, and it all runs to the top, and if that that person or those people, they'll spin it any way you want. We're already behind the 8 ball as far as our perception. It's just like the movie you talked about. Everything coming out of Hollywood is, if there's a hunting or fishing, portrayal, it's usually portrayed the way you talked about it. Guys.
It's not in a positive light.
No.
And it all started years ago, like with the whole Bambi thing.
Mm-hmm.
It really started a lot of these things, and it
Wait.
started these.
Did you see that movie yet, John? We don't want to. No spoilers here.
Nobody was on a boat.
Refrain
Yeah.
from any details if you
You
can.
can let it go.
It's a Disney film.
She died.
Disney?
She died, John.
Sorry, you
She
were saying.
died.
But there's
Open
things.
Season. That's a bad one. That's a more recent one, and that
Yeah.
one's really bad.
Yeah,
With
Open Season, that's a
stereotypes.
good
Open
example.
Season.
Open
Yeah.
season.
Yeah, another
Animated movie.
animated.
Yeah.
It's within the last 5-6 years.
Followed a
anyhow.
deer around
A
it.
lot like what you were talking about. Very stereotypical.
Well, I mean, it just
messed up guy
leans more towards a political agenda.
Yes.
Would you say
Mhm.
that?
Yes, it does.
Undertones.
Well, there's a lot, and I think
Yeah.
we just saw this and with the election recently.
There was one.
And there was one, and that's the thing, there's a lot of things, where you realize that people take things for face value.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm not some political scholar in any means. I just pay attention to things that go on, and there's everybody takes things at face value. And this is it's one page. I'm not going to dig back to page 3 or page 4.
Well, just look at the topics that were discussed on all the debates. It was so superficial. It was so first page and nothing else. I mean, did any of those candidates, and whoever you voted for, it doesn't matter because
Don't
none
matter.
of them dug into anything deeper than the first page.
No, people wanted
Jeb.
Yeah.
people wanted to see a fist fight because that's the day and age that we live
Yeah,
in.
because everybody's pissed off and
You know,
angry.
and that's it. You know, and that's the thing. You know, like we were talking about hunting and stuff earlier, and
you know what I feel like right now? I feel like today when I was going down the ski hill and I was going towards that huge powder, and I'm like, I know I shouldn't go down there, but I can't move my board. I feel like that's where this conversation is going right now.
I was gonna say this is a giant rabid squirrel we're chasing right now.
no,
Yeah.
it's really simple.
Yeah.
We were talking about this earlier, where you know, ideally, like we were talking about this, how we all like to hunt,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not about who kills the biggest thing or what does this or what does that. It's all about being around the right people and sharing that time and making sure that people are successful. That's it. Even if Jake doesn't know how to turn a snowboard. So, you know, but there's different things that it's like that's what it really comes. At the end of the day, you really got to pick your battles.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are picking too many things that just are getting them in just off topic on anything. And it's hard. I mean, it's hard to have a conversation with anybody anymore. Recently.
Well, you have to be very measured in your conversation. That's what's difficult is you have to tiptoe around all these subject matters, which is ridiculous. When most of us grew up, you didn't talk about a couple things at the dinner table, religion and
politics.
Mm-hmm. And there was a good reason for it because it was so
Polarizing.
yeah, it was polarizing. It was sensational. It was driven by belief, and that's why you didn't. But today, with social media and everything else that goes along with it, now those dinner conversations are off the table, and that becomes the social media conversation. And that's what's really hard about it, because when you try to have a serious conversation about it, you can't, because everybody's so off the tracks.
Yeah.
With any kind of reason
Right.
with it. And that goes towards what you guys are talking about today, which is even in hunting and fishing and everything that goes on outdoors, it becomes so polarizing with what's good and what's not good, what's the good use for the lands, what's the good use for the spoils, everything that goes along with that. It becomes so polarizing versus having a reasonable conversation. And that's what's really tough, because in today's world it's so people get so emotional about it when they don't even know the people that are involved. It's crazy. I don't know you, I don't know this, I don't know that, but because you're on this side of the fence, immediately I'm going to have an issue with it.
Right.
And that's
And
what
it's
becomes
because,
really tough.
because they see that you're, you know, and that's the weird thing too, is it's like somebody can go fishing and people applaud them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but somebody goes hunting and it's like,
Oh no.
Yeah.
I can't
Evil.
believe you went and
You're
did
evil, right?
Yeah.
Well, you know what else is interesting too, and this I was listening to a different podcast, and they were talking about that as far as, you know, if you polled Americans, and you asked them, do you support the right to hunt? And you would get a good majority of people saying, yeah, you know, yes. But if you got more specific, it said,
Dial
do
it
you
in.
do you support the hunting of elk or bears or deer?
Yeah,
you know?
dial it in.
And then it starts to get that
Yeah.
those people start to
You
say,
dial
well,
it down.
right,
Dial it down.
exactly. And that's the same thing. You know, you look at political issues.
Do
or anything
you
like
support hunting chickens? No.
that. Do you eat chicken?
Erroneous.
Yes,
But that's true. I mean, the devil's in the details.
it is.
And that's, I think, what becomes so ridiculous when you see these movements that go on out there today that get people so emotionally charged about beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
They aren't aware of the facts. They just get behind the belief versus getting smart about what the realism of it is.
Well, and you look at the world we live in as far as social media, and everybody has a very short attention span. And, you know, if I believe in something, I can find thousands of people that agree with me in an instant.
Oh, sure you can.
And
Yeah.
all that doesn't do anything for the conversation. That doesn't do anything
Save
for
the
you.
sheep,
Yep. I mean, it's
save the rabbit.
It's you know, it doesn't do
We
anything.
just
We
get,
did- Will
all
and
you
I
get
talked
is
about this,
affirmation,
right?
and
Yeah.
you don't have any serious counterpoints.
You gather your forces behind you to get
Right.
your
We talked about that with
Yeah.
who we were talking about today, as far as being very close-minded, and it's, you know, like, hey, you know, this is what I believe in, and, you know, if you don't agree with me, I'm gonna defriend you on all my social.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it's unfortunately, you know, that's the America we're kind of creating right now. And
The reality of it is,
Yeah.
see ya.
yeah,
You know?
I'll
What
go
do you
find- there's
really?
people that-
You just saved me, you know, a couple of Advil. So
Well, it's about, are you an adult or not?
yeah, you know. And
So
but
if you're
that's
going
what
to
it
be
comes
so
down to.
sensitive to go, oh my God,
Take your
because
bowl
you're
and go
against
home.
this, I can't be friends with you.
Right.
What happened to the reality of a great conversation
Mhm.
where you say, you know what, I understand where you're coming from and I don't agree with it, but we're still going to hang out together? That's what's went out the wayside. It really has. People have gotten to the point where it's like, you don't agree with what I agree with, so F you,
Yeah.
and you're out of my world, versus saying, you know, I get what you're saying. I
Yeah,
don't
I
agree with
respect
it.
your opinion.
Yeah, I agree with it, and we're going to butt heads, but we're at the end of the day, we're going to hang out together.
Yeah.
People have gotten so on the opposite end of that wayside.
Yeah, there's no gray.
We're
area
there
anymore.
going, if you don't agree with what I agree with, I'm burning your house down.
Yeah.
That's where they're at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I live near Portland.
Well, absolutely. Seattle, right?
And if
I mean, that's what that's.
And if I Facebook Live me burning your house down, you know how many followers
Look
I'm
what
gonna
they
get?
look what they
man.
just did in Northern California, right at
Oh, Berkeley.
Berkeley,
Mhm.
the bastion of free speech, right?
Yeah,
If you don't agree with
People's
what we
Park.
agree with,
Yeah.
we're burning your shit down.
yeah. People's Park back in the 60s and 70s.
It's
And that
crazy.
was the epicenter of
Yeah, it was
free
the
speech and
opposite
I grew
side
up
of the
down there.
spectrum, right?
And I remember
It was
being a
free
teenager
speech
and
was-
walking through People's Park and just
Yeah.
looking around and just thinking, this is where a lot of this segregation and all that. I'm standing on the streets where this happened.
Yeah.
You know, and I knew nothing about it, but I knew.
And now
I
they've
knew
gone.
that
They
was
went to the
spot.
other end of the spectrum, right?
Oh yeah.
Where unless you believe what we believe in, unless you speak what we speak, you are against us, and we're not going to allow you to speak it.
So where does that stem? I mean, does it stem from our political leaders? I mean,
No, it stems from
No, it stems
from
from a-
spoiled, friggin' lifestyle
it's a
belief system.
sense of entitlement.
Yep, absolutely.
These people, a lot of them, you know, it's just pure ignorance.
well, you know,
what
you
it
talk
is.
about
You allow the mindset to fall into only what you believe, and you don't tolerate anything outside of it. So if it fits into my mindset, if it fits into my politics, then great. If it doesn't, then you're against me, and I'm not gonna. I'm gonna be vicious.
and it's
in
different
battling.
now when, you know, you talked about, you know, getting around the dinner table, and there was things when we were growing up that you didn't
You
talk
didn't talk
about.
about,
Right. But there was also part of that was a hierarchy of respect. Like, I respect mom and dad, you know, what they say. I'm going to listen to what they say. I maybe don't agree with it necessarily right now, but I'm going to listen to it. And when I am mature enough to voice my opinion, then we'll have that conversation. But right now, like you said, it is to a point where, again, with social media, where you can find this group of people that agree with you, that respect has gone out the window. And you know what? I don't care what you say, mom and dad. This is what I believe in, and this is what
It doesn't
I
have
think.
to be mom and dad, and this was the conversation that we had before too. Was it doesn't have to be mom and dad. It's somebody who doesn't agree with your opinion. It could be somebody who is close to you, close to somebody else, and it's just a blatant lack of respect for anything, where any of us would never walk into somebody's home and blatantly disrespect them, choose things to be a certain way. You as a good human being, you say, you know what, that's your opinion, and that's fine, and I'm here as a guest, and you know what, thank you.
And I don't pretend to think I know everybody's politics here, but I get a pretty good vibe. But the whole thing being that if you'd step up against our current president like some of these groups are, and you stepped up against our previous president like some of these groups are, the response would be completely and utterly different.
Mm-hmm.
If you would step up against our previous president and talk about killing him or ousting him or impeaching him or being so
PG stuff.
unbelievably against anyone he's put forward to lead his cabinet, versus what they're facing today, it's night and day. I mean, it's unbelievably night and day as far as how that's dealt with. And I think that's what we're dealing with today, and the difficulty that we're dealing with today.
Well, and as far as that, how that kind of comes full circle to hunting and fishing, in our industry and what we believe in, we deal with the same stuff. We have to. How many times do you feel as a conservationist that you have to take the higher road? You're always trying to take the higher road, right? I mean, and I'm not relating this to any current or former presidency, but we are always playing, I don't want to say we're always playing defense, but we are always put in a position where we're defending what we do, right?
You really are.
Right.
We are always playing defense.
Right.
And it can
And
go
it
back
comes to education.
Just simple things. It's lack of education.
It's the lack of education.
It's
You
the
and I were
lack of
talking about
education.
this.
It's the promotion of emotion, is all it is. When Cecil the Lion thing came out, that was a perfect example of people. They
anti-hunting rose up.
Anti-hunting rose because it's like, oh, he killed this, he did this.
We got this photo op, so we're gonna throw
and
this.
It's like
against
the
you.
reality
goes right
of
back to what you were talking about, what you guys are both talking about as far as clicks and impressions and
Sure,
what sells.
that game,
It's so
great,
easy.
great.
But
No
the
substance.
reality of it is when they came out as, oh, he did this and he did this illegally and on and on. And I'm sitting there, and like somebody brought this up to my attention, like, I can't believe that this hunter did this. I said, why in the world would you spend that much money and your reputation and everything to go to Africa and kill something illegally when you can do it out your back door? Sure. So why would you go there and do this? And the reality of it is a lot of these things that people don't see is, they threatened to burn his house down, destroy his business. They spray painted his garage. They did all this stuff. The guy disappeared off the face of the map. Everything was in order. When all this stuff was going down, it was national news. When it came out that, it was Zimbabwe or whatever it was, wherever that came out, when they said, we know nothing about this, there's no files charge, every permit was in place, they never mentioned it.
No.
Because it just got squashed,
Sure.
and then they're off to the next great thing.
Right.
And so, but the reality of this is people don't realize that as hunters, we are the best conservationists.
They want to make their money on their end too, which I understand. I'm not anti.
But the antis aren't making money.
Entrepreneurial.
The people that went over, all the people that are in Africa that are doing these things, they don't have the resources to pay a veterinarian, to pay a biologist, to pay for trucks, to pay for motorcycles.
But look at what we're feeding into in those particular areas. Look at what we're contributing into the economies of those areas.
It's huge.
And those people.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
I just did a brochure for a guy that was at the Dallas Safari Club. One animal was $30,000.
Absolutely.
One
Look
animal
what that does.
That brings in jobs they build these places for them to stay that covers all their gas, their food, their lodging, the animal care. The villagers don't have work. It brings work in for them.
Absolutely.
They bring hunters in. The hunters kill the meat. You don't bring that meat home.
No,
that meat goes back there to the community. Everything, the tourist dollars. If you bring a spouse, your spouse has to pay, so that helps keep people employed.
Totally.
There's such a bigger umbrella to this.
But that's not the word that.
But it's not drama.
No,
that's reality.
Yeah.
The drama.
Yeah, that doesn't get headlines. That's
no, because it's not. It's not crazy.
doesn't bleed, it doesn't lead, right?
That's how it goes.
In our case, technically, if it does bleed, yes.
It does
But
lead.
that's
We
the
always lead.
If it doesn't bleed, it generally doesn't lead.
We're not
It goes the other way too.
So we've
John's
that's
not
good stuff.
contributing
That's good
a
stuff.
lot to
No,
this
it is. I mean,
situation.
hey, when you got all stars on your team, you feed them the ball. You know what I'm saying? So
I've been told you're more of a shooter.
He's a gunner. He's a gunner.
well, great. I mean, it's great material. I
Guaranteed
mean, we
to
talked about
miss
the 90%.
every single shot you don't take. So
Yeah, we talked about the 90% of your business, Will, being in the outdoor industry. Did you want to speak to the 10%, that being the male modeling community and the work you've done there?
well, there's a lot of glitter involved.
A lot.
It's kind of tough. I really, I was surprised that you didn't use the brochures and the invitations I made for your bachelor party. So I was really surprised.
So what's your body oil of choice?
SPF 4.
Okay.
I do, man. Vacation, it's all about banana hut.
Well,
Oh,
you
man, yeah.
So
Nobody
You might as
wants
well just put olive oil on you, and just get out in the sun.
for everybody that's listening, Will hails from the islands of Hawaii. So
Family does.
your family does, but
Yeah.
your complexion definitely does.
Yeah.
So what I was going to ask you though, as far as we're talking about your work and is a little bit of the lighter side of things. Do you have a mulligan? Do you have one of those? Do you have a piece out there, a piece of art that you're like, man, I would have done that differently, or I'd like to get that back? I know you always shut the page and you turn the page and you're onward. But is there something out there that you're just like, man, that I would like to have done that?
I think
differently.
with anything that you do, the more you do it, and anybody can do this, you can do something you've done in your job, put it in an envelope, and seal it away. Go back and look at it 3 to 5 years later, and you're just like, I did that? With anything you do. Anybody who designs these bows or guns or rifles, technology always advances. And as long as you're staying with it, you're always advancing with it too. So like there's stuff that I look at that I created for the newspaper that I still am impressed that I did.
Right.
But there is stuff that I've done that it's just like, man, because your wheels are clicking faster now. So there's always something. Mulligan-wise, I don't know. I mean, I would have to, I really honestly don't, and it sounds weird, I don't keep track of the stuff that I do. So when people call me and they're like, hey, I need this, so then I go through the files and I look at it. But I just, it's not like there are things on my wall that I've done. Years ago, I did a art contest for Muse, the band.
I remember that. Yeah.
And out of 1,000 entries, I made top 10. And so got to meet the band, do that.
Cool.
And so I have that poster in my office. And then the other thing I did that I have framed that's in there was growing up, I was a huge Devo fan. Huge Devo fan.
You're a big 80s.
Yeah, 80s
music,
rock.
80s
Yeah,
rock
new
guy.
wave.
Yep.
So in 2010, they had a national art contest for totally devoted was the theme. And so I can't remember how many they had, but I won first place in the nation.
Oh, cool.
And so I got
That's
to
awesome.
go to the concert, meet the band, do all the stuff, everything. So I have that, and everybody signed.
Yeah.
So like Mark Mothersbaugh is a big artist, and
He is an artist.
he's
right?
an artist, yeah. And so so I designed 2 posters, and I got to meet him, and he's looking at the posters, and he goes, "I will buy these from you right now."
Really?
I said,
Oh, that's awesome.
"No way." I said, "I've waited 30 years to meet you."
Yeah.
No way. And they signed both of
You
them.
gave it to him.
Huh?
You gave it to him.
No, hell no, I haven't signed it. I took it. So I was
Get
like,
your grubby paws off my poster.
so, but it was
You
crazy
and I.
because I have both of them,
Yeah.
and I have it signed, and there's one framed in my office,
Oh,
and it's
that's
the
awesome.
actual one that I won with,
Yeah.
and it has my backstage wristband and my concert ticket,
That's awesome.
and then like 2 years after that, 3 years after that was when one of them passed away. Bob too.
Pour one out.
You,
So you're a big music guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. You love music. You love all the genres of music for the most part, right?
For the most part.
Yeah.
Mostly Devo.
So if you had one, if you had that one concert to go to,
Devo.
The one concert. I have a good concert
Do we go?
story.
Do we go dead or alive on this? I think we
I
go
would.
dead or alive.
I would.
Yeah.
I mean,
Dead or alive.
Yeah, most definitely.
Dead or
Oh.
alive.
Boy, I don't know. I think
You just turned it down.
I have a good concert story.
Yeah, let's hear it.
One of my biggest
Thanks for that.
music icons growing up was Talking Heads, David Byrne.
Oh,
great.
boy.
Great.
Huge
Great.
fan.
John has
He's
no
such
idea.
an
who that
80s
is.
dude.
Stick me to the river.
Let it rip, man.
Well, maybe I stand corrected. He does.
Back at you.
So a
Jerk.
few years ago, he came to Portland, and so I was, I called my girlfriend and I was like, I just saw it, and I was like, David Byrne's in town. I'm going to this concert, and so I jumped on Craigslist and I bought a ticket. I looked at, and this guy had this ticket and it was like $90, and I was like, man, he doesn't tour much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go to this, and so. Called the guy, got everything set up, went downtown. It was at the Arlene Schnitzer in Portland. I go down there, I send him a text message. I was like, hey, I'm in front. Where you at? And he sends me a text message back that says, sorry, can't make it. Good luck getting in. And so, and the seat was a pretty decent seat.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember I walked back to my truck, and then I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I saw a guy with an envelope, a manila envelope under his arm by the door. I bet he's selling tickets
Or drugs.
and so I was hoping for tickets,
Yeah.
and so
But I'd have taken either one.
Or drugs.
and so I go back up there and I just point at him, and he's just kind of this older hippie dude, like Shooter McGavin. And so
Suck on
I
that
said, are you
baby.
selling tickets? And he goes, what do you want? I said, I want a good seat. And so the
After
other guy,
you'd already paid for your.
no, I didn't pay for it. I was meeting him there. I was going to pay him $90 for the seat. And so the guy goes, what do you want? And I go, something good. And he looks in his little bag of tricks there, and he pulls his ticket out, and he goes, okay, $40. And so he hands me the ticket, and I don't look at it. I just go inside.
Mm-hmm. You just want to
Go to the usher. Yeah, okay, go see her. So I'm walking down. Okay, go see her. Walking down. Okay, follow me. Second row, dead center.
Oh, it's
$40.
$40.
$40. I was from me to Jake. I was about 8 feet from him.
That's
and
awesome.
I watched, and I was thinking, this guy's a legend.
Mm.
And he was on tour with St. Vincent, and so they had come out with a CD together, and she was a younger girl, and he lives in Texas somewhere, part of the time, and she was like a coffee house artist, and he got to know her, and they made an album together, and so they were on tour together. So they did a few of their songs. And then they came out, and then they had like this crazy horn section, and then they did a bunch of Talking Head stuff.
Mm.
Nice.
It was insane.
Dude, that'd have been sweet.
So yeah, that definitely made. So
That
that
was
would
it.
be my.
That was your
And one
That
Macy
was it.
Gray cover.
When we see her. She only had like half a song.
Yeah, it wasn't much.
Hey, you guys know?
we're getting close. Yeah, absolutely.
It's been like 3 hours.
Seems
So-
like it's been what are we,
Hour and 15.
hour 15. All right.
Okay. Sorry. My bad.
Our one listener is still probably tuning in, so unfortunately.
Nate's great.
It's
I
time
think
to
we
say
go on
goodbye.
that political rant.
Yeah, no, that was.
I
that
thought
was-
you guys were
that's good
shut
stuff.
down already.
No, we're still rolling.
We were
No, we
recording.
have.
That'll
all the-
probably get
all the
sliced
trash
out.
cans are under snow, so we can't set them on fire yet.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. we could probably do what we learned. What I learned today.
Oh.
Yeah.
Go George W.
Oh my god.
Nader, you want to start us out? What'd you learn? What'd you learn tonight?
You might need to come back.
I always do go last because it takes me. I gotta figure this out. Yeah.
I forgot about the.
Will, I know.
the-
What you learned?
Yeah.
What I learned
what I
mostly tonight was that, I mean, I think I learned two things. For one, if I need somebody to fix my door, I'm gonna
Yeah.
look on
No.
Craigslist.
Dang it, that was mine.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for two, I think John definitely has a penchant for fishing more than anybody. If I fell into a river and was freezing,
Yeah. No, he's the
The
guy.
next thing I wouldn't be was gotta land a big one.
Yeah. And you didn't, so.
Not that day.
Well, you had the
No.
pressure release valve. You
Not
let,
that day.
Let all the water back out, I guess.
I learned you got pretty badass tickets to a Talking Heads concert.
David Byrne.
$40.
Mm-hmm.
Talking. Is that what it was?
David Byrne, lead singer for Talking Heads.
Yeah, that's cool.
When you chalk it up to what's important to you.
Yeah.
Talking Heads.
It's little things, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Johnny,
You know.
Oh my gosh, I learned a lot.
I did learn a lot.
I learned that it is Oregon state law that everyone needs to be wearing a life preserver on a boat, even on the high lakes, when cruising under 5 miles per hour.
On a party boat?
On a party boat. I learned that.
Yeah.
I learned Nate's handyman skills are not what I thought they were.
No. He's better with the JavaScript.
Yes, yes. And
Just doors. That's what I have problems with.
Yeah, yeah.
The Doors. Another great band.
And I learned
True.
that while Wil is a very accomplished artist and very skilled at what he does, he is not allowed within 200 feet of any school,
Right.
specifically elementary.
I thought that was over. I thought they.
Is it,
Statute of
is it,
limitations.
is it 2017 already?
Yeah.
You're good, bro.
You're good to go.
I also learned if I need to borrow a hammer, I shouldn't bother calling Will.
Let's build a house.
Will,
Honestly, there's some dust on the hammer at my house.
Yeah.
if people want to
Bubble gum and
find
duct
you
tape.
and have them, if people want to ask you to do a sweet ass deer skull, for their podcast or other business, where do they find you?
For sweet ass deer skulls, I would suggest writing all of your name and information down and walking into your restroom and flushing it down the toilet.
Okay.
If you want really good looking
Yeah.
artwork, you can find me on Facebook. I'm under Wil Askew with one L. You can get me at Wil, W-I-L, at WILASKEW.com or hunting-graphics.com, which was shortly going to be redone.
So is your name William
Yes.
with one L?
Well, it's William with two L's, but if you cut it in half and cut it to Will, it's only one L.
I'm just curious about the whole thing.
You got to be different.
I know. My name is Heath with a W.
T and S.
I've never met a Heath with a W.
All right, so we got your plugs in. We know where to find
Yeah,
you.
I think so. I think honestly, I mean, thanks for inviting me out this weekend. This was fun. I mean, I think the highlight of the day for me was the mountain.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I love to snowboard,
Yeah.
love it. And it's just, it's just one of those things. I think, you know, part of the reason that I really gravitate towards that outdoor community is, especially doing that stuff, is you will never get on that lift and find somebody with a scowl on their face.
Yeah.
No
That's
matter
good.
what the
That's
day
true.
is.
It's good.
I'm pretty sure I could
Yep.
be pissed off.
Well,
about
By the
that
time you get down,
Nate had one.
situation.
The only thing Nate was missing was a wood
Nader,
stick coming out of
Nader,
him.
you were probably pissed off about that whole situation, right?
Which situation?
Going downhill.
Well, yeah. As long as I was upright, it was fine. Going
Got
downhill
some
in a
little
ball.
bit of tips and tricks though.
Yeah.
I tried to help out Nate a
Yeah.
little bit today.
Yeah, you were very helpful today. I appreciate it, Will.
No, it's
That
fun.
was
I
fun.
love it. I mean, it's just one of those things that you just do. I don't even think about it when I'm on the board. I just kind of, like I was telling Jake today, it's like I just see something, I just charge it, you know, and I just don't even. You'll just
Well, you're a
eventually
giant.
you get to
You're
that
a
point.
giant human being.
Yeah.
You just.
Yeah, you gotta have no fear.
You don't
On the
you know,
board.
You just really
Yeah.
don't.
So if anybody's
Within
out
reason.
there that wants to check out some of Will's work, you can go to thecrave.net. And our logo was done by Mr. Askew under a lot of guidance, but turned out pretty well. I liked it. Looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty
We're
interesting.
pumped.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very clever. It was something. It was fun to do because it was to come up with something that was completely different
Yeah.
and eye-catching, but still sells what you're trying to do at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yep.
You
So
know?
go check it out, and then go see Will's site and request some
Badass
artwork.
or
Yeah.
Porn.
Yeah.
We'll have the information for Will's as far as
Yeah,
contact
yeah,
goes
we'll
in the
get
show
all
notes.
your information on our website and
It's a
all of our.
900 number.
It is. Yeah, oddly enough.
I only answer if you call after 10 p.m.
And it's $4.75 a minute.
That's where we went wrong.
All right.
Sounds
Thanks for
good.
listening,
Why would you
everybody.
charge?